Good morning. Good morning and welcome everybody to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. Today I'm drinking some coffee out of my Bitsby Trippin' coffee mug. You can go check him out on YouTube, a fellow YouTuber about cryptocurrency mining. The real OG. Let's get into it today. Pretty small list of news today. Yesterday we had a ton, even so much that we ended up covering two more articles in a second follow-up live stream yesterday. And there's just a ton going on in the cryptocurrency space. But as far as like late up-to-date news or whatever for today, there's not a ton. So that maybe gives us a little bit of time to catch up on some more Q&A if you had some questions that weren't getting answered, and to cover some more stuff. Of course, as we speak, we do have the Ethereum Merge all core dev merge discussion going on that I'll have to catch up on after the show and get that information out to you guys. But tentatively, we are looking at a merge date of September 15th or 16th. Yet, right now, I didn't hear any announcement of a block height for that. So that could be up in the air as we speak. It's really kind of one of those things. Maybe chat will catch me up if they're listening to it as they tune in after it's completed. But other than that, the biggest news today is that Netherlands arrests a suspected Tornado Cash developer. I have a lot to talk about with this one, guys. It's not good news. This is not going down the path we wanted to see going down. That's all I really have to say right now. We'll get more details later on in the show. Crypto lender tied to Chinese rig giant throws miners a lifeline. There's apparently some new lending options if you're a large miner. And crypto miner Core Scientific cuts 10% of staff and keeps their hash rate projection. We also are going to cover the article surrounding the merge. And then we have Nvidia reportedly assists in AIBs with Ampere stock through price drops to make room for the RTX 40 series GPUs. This does mean a possible, increase or decrease of price on GPUs in the market here in the short term. And then we have an announcement from Moneta BTC as far as listing. Let's get into all of that and more after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Crypto.com. Crypto.com is my go-to centralized exchange for liquidating my crypto assets. With their Crypto.com Visa debit card, I can load up my mined Ethereum to pay for power and other operating costs. In addition to the Visa debit card, there are additional fiat options, including wire transfers, to easily receive your profits. Crypto.com also offers additional services, including trading and even staking, to earn additional revenue on your investments. Join 10 million plus users buying and selling 100 plus cryptocurrencies at true cost by using my affiliate link in the description for a $25 funding bonus. Or enter referral code SOAT at sign up for the same bonus. Remember, cryptocurrency investment comes with significant risks, so do your own research. Alrighty, and welcome back, everybody. Thanks for checking out the sponsor, and of course, utilizing all the affiliate links down in the description helps the channel out immensely. So if you can do that, definitely get it done. Let me get this monitor positioned to where it's easy for me to bounce back and forth between my notes. And today, the first announcement that we have is that Moneta is now listed on Fluid tokens. And this is just a quick announcement. They don't have a ton of details as far as all of that goes, but listings are something I try to cover if they do come up, just so that you guys are aware of it. And as you can see here, they're excited to announce they've been listed on Fluid tokens, and Moneta Angels can now be used to take out loans in Cardano. So I don't know if any sort of angel loan options will come to Ergo, and but at this time you can utilize it on the ADA side of things. Remember, they're kind of still two separate chains, so you're not seeing any crossover between Aneta Angels on Cardano and Aneta Angels on Ergo. So this particular service is only available on ADA. So if you have an Ergo Angel, it's not something that you can necessarily participate in. Maybe down the line, though. We shall see. So Nvidia reportedly assists its AIBs with Ampere stock through price drops to make room for RTX 40 series GPUs. Graphics card prices have declined since the beginning of the crash in crypto mining. While it could be attributed to price drops and availability, add-in board companies are still left with large overstocks of existing Ampere 30 series GPUs in inventory. Nvidia is now rumored to be assisting its AIB sellers in moving leftover Nvidia Ampere quantities to make room for the next-gen 40 series lineup, reports Moore's Law is dead. According to Tom, Nvidia made significant steps to find a resolution for the overstock supply of the company's RTX 30 series cards in partner stocks. The YouTuber explains in the video below how Nvidia plans to help its partners further. In the video, Tom states, Nvidia has directly stepped in to help AIBs clear their reserve stockpiles of GA102 in exchange for big pre-purchases of enthusiast Lovelace. The YouTuber observed this information from his insiders in the field. He continues to state that even with Nvidia's assistance, several months will pass before any company can clear their premium GA102, 3080, and 3090 GPUs in inventory. And I mean, I wouldn't touch the 3090s with a 10-foot pole. I have 8 of them. They're extremely difficult to keep cool, and I don't think that they're great for mining or in farms. The 3080, though, on the other hand, could be something to take a look at. AIBs will be left on their own to take care of graphics card stocks consisting of low-end and mid-range GPUs, such as the 3060 Ti and the 3070. Now, as we know, the 3060 Ti and the 3070 are still holding their value pretty good, and they are going to probably continue to do so, because as I see it, like, unless the prices come down even further on the 3080, the 3060 Ti and 3070 are the best price to performance for building mining rigs, and even really, frankly, gaming rigs at this point. If you look into the price to performance across the board for any tasks regarding GPUs, they are very enticing. The 3060 Ti especially, because it is about $100 less than the 3070. If the 3080 can come down to that $699 mark or something along those lines, I think that starts to make sense, though, especially because you can get those running pretty good on pretty much any mining algorithm. The company's overstock plans to assist AIBs to appeal successful, with one of the sources commenting the channel is already starting to run dry of RTX 3090s, and the 3090 Ti is starting to show signs of depleting stock as well. AMD and Nvidia are expected to aggressively act towards the end of August if there are still large enough quantities to show concern. It is suggested that graphics card prices will continue to drop past the end of this month and are expected to grow again in September. And this is something that Jay's 2 cents had talked about, that pretty much the rest of the industry was like, no, you're incorrect. And then we started seeing, of course, a lot of interesting stuff happening in the, I guess the macroeconomic sphere, specifically, the issues within Taiwan and all of the, China versus Taiwan sovereignty issues. And I was kind of curious if this would end up being the case, because Jay's 2 cents said now's the time to buy Nvidia GPUs. And everybody else was like, well, we have the merge coming up, right, for Ethereum, and we have the new GPU line coming out. So with all of that compounding, we were kind of expecting to see GPU prices continue to fall even past September. At least I was. But apparently, even reports here are starting to say, no, prices are expected to start going back up after September. Nvidia may lower the costs even more, but AMD is anticipating leaving the market to keep pricing regular. AMD and Nvidia will release the next-gen graphics cards over the next several months, which may hurt the marketplace. One thing is sure, right now is the best time to begin shopping around for a replacement or upgradable option for a newer graphics card for your personal business system. And if it's time to look at it for your business systems or, your gaming system, maybe it's time to start looking at it for the mining system. Of course, it is the scariest time to purchase graphics cards for mining. And that means that I think a lot of people are going to be a little bit cautious surrounding it, but I think that does open up the most opportunity. I'm going to also show you guys why here with the Hive stats here in a bit that somebody sent over to me here after we talk about the rest of these articles, because what you're going to see is something very interesting, and I'm going to save it because I think you're going to be like, that's interesting. But let's go ahead and talk about the Ethereum Merge, because of course that will dictate how everybody's feeling surrounding purchasing more GPUs for mining. During the late hours of Wednesday, the Ethereum network successfully underwent its final dress rehearsal. The network's third public testnet, Goerli, finally made its transition from proof-of-work consensus mechanism to proof-of-stake. Testnets, on their part, offer developers a test environment to try new updates and changes to a blockchain network. So now with Ropsten, Sepolia, and Goerli trial merge already completed successfully, Ethereum is on the verge of executing the actual merge on its mainnet. Now, according to the recent announcement, Ethereum's merge is tentatively expected to be between September 15th and 16th of 2022. However, the estimated date could extend to the 20th of September or later. Post the merge, Ethereum activity will be moved over to the Beacon chain, and the same will mark the beginning of a new era where Ethereum will leave behind one consensus mechanism and begin with another. What to expect? The proof of work to proof of stake change is set to alter quite a few fundamentals. For starters, the network is set to become even more efficient for high-powered computers connected to the network to validate transactions are on their way out. And that's not necessarily true, because you will have maybe not high-powered computing, but you will definitely have, I suppose, virtual private server computing going on, which will basically be like going from mining on GPUs to mining on CPUs, if we're kind of talking about the type of hardware that's being used, right? So it'll be a little bit more memory intensive. It'll definitely be still the same as far as hard drive space. Actually, it'll be more for hard drive space, because the nodes will have to sync up for you to actually have a full stake, right? Alongside, miners will be eliminated from Ethereum's equation. Instead, validators will start confirming transactions in full-fledged. An Ethereum network validator, as such, connotes to any entity that has staked a minimum of 32 ETH on the Beacon chain. With time, the amount of staked ETH has been consistently rising. This essentially comes with a drawback. More staking would translate to reduced yields, since more people will receive the block subsidies. Resultantly, each depositor will likely receive a much lesser percentage of the rewards. On the macro frame, as outlined in a recent article, the APR is already on a downtrend. While a few analysts suggest that things might improve after the merge, most others contend that the number will only get lower. And so what does this mean? It means that you are compensating the validators, or the people that are providing security to the chain, less and less. So you are incentivized by nature to sell when the price of the coin goes up, because that is your biggest sell point. Kind of has a reverse incentive mechanism for, of course, your security, which is a little silly, especially when we're talking about the digital age. If that's the case, depositors will lose the incentive to keep their tokens locked. Yep. So if they withdraw and dump Ethereum tokens in mass, the network security will be threatened. Thank you for pointing that out, Watcher. I am super happy that this is getting called out, because I felt like for the longest time I was the only one saying it. ETH price might also bear the repercussions of the same. Now that the merge and network transition is almost here, it is quite essential to mind the terminology. As chalked out in an earlier article, Ethereum developers had chosen to bury the Ethereum 2.0 phrase. Oh my goodness. Guys, it only took like 3 years for everybody to catch up to the real news surrounding Ethereum. Wow, Watcher, you guys are killing it today. I love it. Oh my goodness. Oh, it feels so good. I don't even have to sit here and keep coming back to camera and be like, oh, let me correct this real quick. So, it was replaced with something even more inclusive and technical at the beginning of this year. Via a blog post, the foundation announced it would start following the steps of its developers and start referring to ETH2 as the consensus layer. The rebrand, as such, reflects the fact that what's been called Ethereum 2.0 is more of a network upgrade rather than a whole network, a whole new network. The other thing about it too is that they are removing pieces of Ethereum 2.0. One of the problems we had with an article earlier this week was that they were still talking about sharding. Sharding is kind of being done away with. There is this grand illusion of something called dink sharding for scalability way down the line. But right now, scalability has been put onto essentially your side chains and your layer 2 solutions, and will be utilizing something called ZK rollups for that portion of scalability. And I think that's really important to point out, because that does end up actually introducing some more security issues to Ethereum. So not only do we have the security issues surrounding, of course, the incentive structure for maintaining security through validation, moving to proof of stake, thereby changing the incentive to actually hold the ETH or provide security to sell the ETH, which is the very thing that provides the security. But we also have the issue of now basically scalability being done on layer 2 and side chains. Why is this a problem? Well, all you have to do is look back just a little bit and see all of the issues with bridge security, right? So if we're having all of the scalability being done on layer 2 or with side chains being kind of the big one here that need to essentially bridge themselves over constantly to Ethereum, you end up with all of those points of scalability being attack vectors on Ethereum, okay? And this means that pretty much without a shadow of a doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt from my perspective, Ethereum, once they go to proof of stake and the merge happens, will be a lot less secure. There are too many attack vectors and it doesn't look safe. What does that mean though? Like, if I'm looking at it right now, am I selling my Ethereum? Not financial advice, but me personally, not selling my Ethereum, because obviously we're going to have that rise running up to the merge. So it's definitely one of those things where you kind of buy the rumor or mine the rumor and then, sell the news once the merge is successful or looks to be successful really soon. Personally, I'll be selling probably right before the merge happens, because I do see these attack vectors happening on Ethereum. I do see a decrease in the security on the network as a whole and the potential for lots of issues surrounding it. So that's how I feel about it. I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions in, of course, the live chat. Are you going to be holding Ethereum through the merge? And I'll ask the community there. Let's get into crypto miner news, though. Crypto miner Core Scientific cuts 10% of its staff and keeps the hash rate projection. The company also took a $840 million accounting charge to write down the value of its assets. Crypto miner Core Scientific cut 10% of its staff and dramatically reduced the value of its assets as the cryptocurrency route continued to drag on the industry. The workforce reduction was announced Thursday as the company reported its second quarter financial results, which included an $840 million charge to reduce the accounting value of its assets that took the core's net loss for the period to $862 million. CFO Denise Sterling said during the earning conference call that the staff cuts were surgical and didn't affect operational personnel in Core Scientific's data centers. Like other Bitcoin miners amid the crypto winter, the company has been forced to shore up its liquidity. In July, Core sold more Bitcoin than it mined, in part to keep up with costs. Now remember, most of these mining companies are selling their mined Bitcoin. The only one that hasn't really right now at this point that I'm aware of is Hut 8. Now Hut 8 is the only one taking the strategy that I would look at personally, right? Which is try to hold all your cryptocurrency through the bear market and then get yourself into a good cash position during a bull run. The rest of them are all kind of having to sell. However, Core stuck with its forecast for the company's hash rate, a measure of computing power on the Bitcoin network and a key metric for mining companies. On May 12th, Core Scientific lowered its 2022 hash rate projection to 30 to 32 exahash per second and total power of about 1 gigawatt, citing market turmoil. The company retained that forecast on Thursday. CEO Mike Levitt said during the earnings call that 2/3 of the company's 2022 growth is set to take place in the second half of the year. The miner reported $164 million in revenue, narrowly beating the average analyst estimate of $161.8 million, according to FactSet data. Revenue more than doubled from a year earlier, driven by increases in digital asset mining revenue and hosting revenue, partially offset by a decrease in equipment sales, the earnings report said. CEO Mike Levitt said during the earnings call that 2/3 of the company's 2022 growth is set to take place in the second half of the year. But the miner's personnel and facilities costs have also climbed by 25% compared to last year, while their power cost has reached 5 to 5.5 cents per kilowatt hour. Answering several questions from concerned analysts about the company's raised its power cost expectations for the year, Levitt pointed to the company's Georgia facility, where Core faces the greatest exposure to rising natural gas prices. The miner is trying to get a better arrangement with its energy provider, the CEO said. The miner is also thinking about scaling up its operations such that economies of scale bring down unit costs. All of the same things that are impacting the rest of the economy are impacting the mining industries as well. And that is rising energy costs, personnel increase, of course, in their requirements for their salaries, because if the rest of everything you buy is going up, you need to compensate your employees to go ahead and compensate for that. So you need to raise their wages as well. Unfortunately, wages aren't rising up high enough with, of course, everything else in the world that's going on right now. And so you end up with a lot of people that are struggling right now. I think a lot of you all included, myself included. You have just basically in the mining industry, a very unique position where not only are you having rising costs, but you're having decreasing revenue. And it just makes things extremely tough because, if you were at least, maybe working a day job, you'd have consistent revenue, but your costs are still going up. It can be kind of stressful in the mining realm. The company mines Bitcoin for itself while also hosting other companies' Bitcoin mining machines. Revenue from hosting was up 110% compared with a year earlier, while self-mining revenue rose 920%. Hosting is in high demand after available rack space dwindled. But Levitt noted that a lot of folks that don't have a home for their mining equipment also don't have capital. And that's a great point, right? So a lot of the people, like the smaller miners that are looking into hosting, maybe they're located in like New York City where the prices are going really high, or, California or something along those lines that would be looking for hosting, have now also run out of capital, and you're at a very small level. So paying for hosting becomes a little bit sketchy. And Core is only interested in working with clients who can make repayments and are very, very creditworthy. And that is going to be hard to do, right? Because creditworthy and crypto mining don't necessarily go together. If you guys have tried to do anything with banks or even trying to get leases or sign up for power companies. Do you have an LLC and you go, hey, yeah, I'm doing cryptocurrency mining? It's like everybody shuts you out, right? They're just like, no, you can't open a bank account. Sorry, you're in crypto. No, or, we don't know if we can open this lease up to you. Cryptocurrency mining sounds volatile, all that same stuff. It's very difficult to be credit worthy within the crypto industry. I mean, I know that for me, when we were getting the lease for the mining farm, I had to basically convert a bunch of cryptocurrency and throw it into like a bank account and then prove the income and then pull it back out and put it back into cryptocurrency. It was very annoying. At the same time, Core has had to re-examine the profitability of its hosting business, the CEO said. In the good old days, we used to be resellers of servers, and there was a margin in that, Levitt said. We could look at the margin of that and combine that with our hosting agreements and look at the overall profitability. Now that we really don't have a very vibrant reseller business because most folks are going direct to the manufacturers, our hosting business needs to stand on its own 2 feet, he said. Core produced 3,365 Bitcoin for itself, and at the end of the quarter, it holds 1,959 Bitcoins for its reserve. Shares of the miner fell about 1% following the report. The stock has fallen about 68% this year, in line with its Bitcoin mining peers, as Bitcoin price fell near 50%. And this is the same old story over and over again, guys. Like I said, we're seeing rising costs and decreasing revenue within the mining industry. And it's forcing a lot of these miners to not be able to hold their Bitcoin, and they have shareholders to answer to, which is another huge problem that really makes it extremely difficult for these public mining companies. That being said, there is some light at the end of the tunnel, I guess, for some of these large miners, as crypto lender tied to Chinese rig giant throws miners a lifeline. Bitmain has about $5.6 billion of revenue in the last year, says Luxor, and Bitcoin miners can refinance billions of debt at a lower rate. Chinese Bitcoin mining rig giant Bitmain Technologies has been selling machines to miners for about 9 years. Now it's helping keep them afloat during the cryptocurrency market downturn through its ties with industry financier Antalpha. There we go. Antalpha. That makes sense because Antpool is going to be who they're working with. Bitmain and its Antpool mining spinoff are working with Singapore-based Antalpha to offer low-interest loans to miners to help them reduce borrowing costs and repay nearly $4 billion in loans backed by equipment which have fallen in value along with the price of Bitcoin since it peaked in November. Antalpha, which calls Bitmain and Antpool strategic partners, will use proprietary data from these two companies to enable it and other crypto lenders to evaluate financing risks. Max Leo, managing director of business development at Antalpha, told Bloomberg. Antpool is the second largest Bitcoin mining pool in the world. Bitmain has been one of the largest beneficiaries of the crypto mining boom in North America after China banned it in May of 2021. The mining machine manufacturer and consultant, which is still based in China while operating subsidiaries overseas, continues to have strong pricing power. It has the lion's share of the Bitcoin mining hardware market with as much as $5.6 billion in revenue over the last year, according to an estimate by crypto mining company Luxor Technologies Corporation based on purchase orders and rig prices. Quote, the launch of Antalpha financing products is a strategic move for Bitmain, end quote, said Ethan Vera, chief operating officer at Luxor Technologies. Like other mining pools, Antpool, which has been led by Bitmain's chief executive officer McRezan, after the company spun off from the manufacturer in 2021, collects a fee from miners and in return ensures that each member of the pool gets coins generated from the collective computing power. Antalpha has also started offering a revolving credit line for miners that can only be used to pay electric bills. The interest rate is as low as 6.6%, almost half of the rate that big miners have on existing loans, according to Vera. The highest rate on Antalpha's credit line is 8.8%, according to Liao. The line of credit will be secured by the Bitcoin miners produce. Electricity is one of the largest operational costs for Bitcoin miners since they operate energy-intensive machines to create coins. Energy prices are soaring due to Russia invading Ukraine, which has sent natural gas prices higher. A heat wave in Texas and other U.S. mining hubs is also putting a crimp on miners as they have to shut down machines to help conserve energy. With Bitcoin prices falling, energy costs can eat up as much as 40% of a miner's revenue, according to Vera. We are taking their biggest cash outflows, electricity costs, and helping them reduce that burden, he told Bloomberg. We all assume that this bear market is going to end sometime, and we just have to make sure everybody makes it through the winter. Public mining companies have been in distress. Core Scientific sold nearly 80% of its Bitcoin holdings in June to cover operational costs, and Bitfarms Limited sold about half of its Bitcoin holdings to pay down a $100 million loan. Meanwhile, major lenders are losing billions of dollars on deals with bankrupt counterparties like hedge fund Three Arrows Capital. To alleviate some of the pressure, Ant Alpha said some of its loans would not require margin calls, and it would let miners delay payments to Bitmain for mining machines by allowing miners to purchase rigs as collateral. Purchased rigs as collateral. Ant Alpha is comfortable with the risks, saying it's willing to be behind the co-lender in terms of debt collection during a default. It expects to have performance projections based on Bitmain data and can monitor miners' computing power via Antpool. It's a good move by Bitmain because even if they are providing financing and there is a chance of default, they are selling their equipment, said Vera. It's a way for them to bolster their demand by funneling more capital into their system. And I mean, really, I always do talk about this. It's not great to be taking out loans, especially at a small scale. This is obviously for larger scales. It's interesting that they're targeting the electricity costs, or it can be used to do one of two things: purchase equipment from Bitmain because they're partnered with Bitmain, or to pay for the electricity bills. And then all of the Bitcoin that you're mining is being used as collateral on these loans. Now, it does appear that these loans are a better position for refinancing for a lot of these companies because the interest rate is lower. However, I do still think that interest rate is quite high at 6.6 to 8%. And then on top of that, what's going to happen if this continues to be drawn out? They say that they aren't going to have any margin calls, which would be nice, but can you really trust that that doesn't end up just collapsing the entire mining industry? Be very careful out there, guys, even if you are running a larger operation when it comes to taking on debt. Of course, not financial advice, just some thoughts surrounding it. I do think we have quite a bit more time before we really see another bull run like we saw in 2021. And I think it could be all the way up until 2025. So you have up to 3 years almost, or 2.5 years at this point, to wait this out. Now, the cryptocurrency industry has been under attack from nation states or governments for, I guess since its inception, really. But the thing is a lot of people didn't know what their attack vectors were. And it does appear that those attack vectors are coming to light. And it usually surrounds two things: privacy and security. And that means privacy and security for the individual, not privacy and security for the nation states or whatever you want to call them, right? Different governments. That means that now we are starting to see arrests throughout a bunch of the industry. We saw Kazakhstan arresting crypto miners, calling them basically gang members and accusing them of gang membership because out of everybody they arrested, one person had one AK-47. And they're going to use anything they can to demonize, of course, cryptocurrency miners, and the industry as a whole, especially if it pertains to basically providing security to the network without, government interference, or, of course, providing any sort of privacy or privacy as well. And we're seeing that now as Netherlands has arrested a suspected Tornado Cash developer. So we're just arresting people that develop stuff. The country's Fiscal Information Investigation Service has ruled out making more arrests in the case. A 29-year-old unnamed developer who is suspected of being involved in sanctioned Tornado Cash protocol was arrested in Amsterdam on Friday, according to a release by the Fiscal Information Investigation Services. Tornado Cash is an Ethereum blockchain-based crypto mixing service that allows users to gain a cloak of anonymity when transferring crypto assets. On Monday, the service was sanctioned by the U.S. government for assisting criminals in laundering stolen money. FIOD, which began its investigation in June, said it hasn't ruled out making multiple arrests in the case. Dutch prosecutors are investigating the matter on suspicions of fraud, environmental crime, and asset confiscation. FIOD is also giving extra attention to decentralized autonomous organizations that may facilitate money laundering, the agency told CoinDesk. So now DAOs are on the chopping block as well. According to reports by several users on Twitter, the Discord channel of the crypto mixer has gone offline, which of course I've talked about not using Discord. One of the reasons being is Discord has complete control. It's basically spyware on your system, and I really despise Discord. I don't think if you're participating in cryptocurrency, you should be participating in Discord. It just kind of sucks because that is the kind of go-to for a lot of people. I just think it's extremely dangerous because what do we see here at the end of the day? They are making examples, and you got to be really careful when we get around this. In fact, there was a thought I had for a while here, actually this morning as I'm like showering up and kind of getting ready for the show. As we start to see more of this come to light and more prosecutions come into play, more attacks on cryptocurrency in general, I do think that if you are just wanting to stay out of trouble, keep it clean, and be a normie that goes to work to their 9 to 5 and does everything everybody tells you to do all the time, you probably shouldn't participate in crypto anymore. And that is because I think that from here on out, we will start to see a rise in the attacks on crypto because it is a threat to the current powers in charge. And I know that can get a little tinfoil hatty and a little crazy. And I do understand we have institutional investing in things like Bitcoin, etc. But if it comes down to, the difference or the choosing between something like a CBDC and cryptocurrency, I could see pretty much every country, if not a majority of countries, especially with the UN's announcement, yesterday that we talked about, that they will start trying to make all cryptocurrency illegal in certain geographical areas. And it puts you at risk for being, essentially outside the law. And that can be, a huge risk for people that are just trying to make it day to day. And you should be aware of that because they won't pick, people that are making a ton of money, like the Michael Saylors or something like that. They are like top, not necessarily 1% or whatever, but in the top 10%, let's say, or something like that, that have influence over elections and so on. They'll pick the small guys, right? They'll pick the guys like you and I that don't really have the money to hire lawyers, don't have the money to really fight back. That's the kind of people that they will pick to make examples out of. And it could be as simple as something that you've never even known that you did anything, right? For example, receiving some sort of Ethereum at some point from, a contract or from an address that interacted with a Tornado Cash contract. And the thing is like at the end of the day, they can't prove that because these are unsolicited transactions, right? They can't prove that you utilize the contract, but just by nature of being related to it, they could choose to make an example out of you. And it's extremely scary stuff going on within cryptocurrency right now. And I think you're going to need a strong constitution and ability to make it through this. And I don't think that if you are just a normie that maybe cryptocurrency is something you should be participating in anymore. If you just want to stay within the law. And the problem is like, at what point is staying within the law even morally correct? And we could get into that maybe in a discussion sometime on the locals channel. If you guys are interested, let me know and we'll talk about that. But I did promise you guys we would talk about Ethereum mining and specifically what's going on with this RTX 3000 series case, right? Because we have the RTX 30 series and that pricing has come down. And so there's a really nice page on Hivon called Statistics. This was shared by a viewer yesterday. So thank you for that. And there's a few things that I wanted to point out here. I mean, the obvious ones is going to be that you have 83% of the hash rate on ETH. But the not obvious ones that get really interesting is the type of cards that are on the network. And if we scroll down here, we really do see, like I've kind of been saying for the longest time, that RX 580s and 570s are still a majority of the cards being deployed, making up 42% of all of the AMD cards in existence. And that means that you basically have a bunch of GPUs that are not going to be that good on any other algorithm post-merge. And this does bring up the question, right, surrounding what cards are going to be, good for mining after that. And I think you would take a look at the 30 series. Now, the 30 series does make up, the 3070 in particular, does make up 12% of all of the Nvidia GPUs deployed. But, that's still not going to be on par with the amount of RX 580s, etc. deployed. I wish there was one that said how many AMD models versus Nvidia models or both of these combined so we could get a little bit better of an idea. But this amount of 580s and 570s, I think definitely you do not want to be purchasing 580s and 570s right now. So when we're talking about earlier, this possibility of in September GPU prices going back up, well, okay, cool. But that really pertains to the 30 series if I really take a look at this, because the merge is probably going to cause a lot of these older GPUs, specifically 580s and 570s, to be sold off. And that means that you're going to have 580s and 570s for super duper cheap, but maybe the 30 series and the new GPUs continue to go up in price. So right now, if I was going to purchase GPUs, I would be purchasing the 30 series GPUs at the current prices. And I would be very careful about purchasing any other used GPUs on the market that are older generations, because I do think especially Polaris GPUs are going to flood the market, because their only real option is going to be Ethereum Classic for the most part. And Ethereum Classic is going to be swamped with a bunch of ASIC miners at the end of the day. So definitely check this sheet out. I'm going to analyze it a little bit further because I think that it's quite interesting. Another thing that I thought was cool was NB Miner is 26%, T-Rex is 21%, and Team Red Miner is 14% as far as the miners being utilized. We do have Nvidia. Okay, so Nvidia makes up 64% and AMD makes up 37%. So that makes these numbers look a little bit better. That does mean there are a significant amount of 1660 supers out in the wild and a significant amount of 3070s out in the wild. So maybe this does get adjusted out a little bit differently here. I still think those 580s and 570s are going to flood the market though at the end of the day. Let's get into mining profitability for the day right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Crypto.com. Crypto.com is my go-to centralized exchange for liquidating my crypto assets. With their Crypto.com Visa debit card, I can load up my mined Ethereum to pay for power and other operating costs. In addition to the Visa debit card, there are additional fiat options, including wire transfers, to easily receive your profits. Crypto.com also offers additional services, including trading and even staking, to earn additional revenue on your investments. Join 10 million plus users buying and selling 100 plus cryptocurrencies at true cost by using my affiliate link in the description for a $25 funding bonus. Or enter referral code SOAT at sign up for the same bonus. Remember, cryptocurrency investment comes with significant risks, so do your own research. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The profitability is still 20% up. That's 2 days in a row that we're 20% up over the previous week. And we did $122 in USD, and then that was 0.06 for Ethereum. Now, there is more activity going on the network as well, which means our expected earnings for the next 24 hours would be up 30%. And that would be 131 USD. We'll see if that pans out over the weekend. And 0.069, almost 0.07 ETH, and that is on currently a real-time hash rate of 4.3 gigahash with an average of 4.58 gigahash over the past 24 hours. We had some cloud coverage and rain last night, which really helped with cooling down the cards. But the heat's coming right back this week, so I expect to be back down around that 4.4 gigahash a second or something along those lines as far as all of that is concerned. Now, this isn't everything at the farm. Yes, we are mining still Caspa, solo mining that. We're also solo mining some Ergo and all of that. So that's kind of been separate. Now, on the Ergo side of things, I was mining on GetBlock for a little bit, a couple days actually. And I think in the past 24 hours, we did like 3 ERG, but we cut them back off and we're back on solo mining. And this week we found 2 blocks on Ergo. So that was 96 Ergo, which actually ends up being, I think right now, let's see, the calculator, 40 or 96 times 260, right? 260. About $250 on solo mining Ergo to add in there. So, oops. And then I wanted to do that calculator to get you guys the daily. 250 divided by 7. That means for the week, or it's actually by 5, but that's an extra, $35 a day. So the farm as a whole is doing a lot better. Somewhere around $150 to $160 a day. On the GPU side of things, right? So that's pretty cool. And let's get into what to mine as well and take a look at what it is reporting for the day. We have the 3090 with our Kapow set to 60 megahash a second and our ZIL hash to 110 solutions a second. And there was a recent pump in Flux. And so Flux is now at 333 a day in revenue and 263 a day in profit after power, beating out Ethereum. And this is a pretty big deal. Ethereum at 331 a day in revenue and 254 a day after power. Ravencoin at 318 a day in revenue and 239 a day after power. Firo at 303 a day in revenue and 229 a day after power. Neoxa at 295 a day in revenue and 215 a day after power. Conflux at $276 a day in revenue and $1.96 a day after power. Ethereum Classic, $276 a day in revenue and $1.99 a day after power. And Ergo, $251 a day in revenue and $1.89 a day after power. Let's see what that translates, of course, though, into mining hash rate. We said yesterday that Flux was looking good as far as profitability for you guys because we were only 20% up in hash rate, but 30% up in price. Today, it's looking like it can handle some more hash rate again. So this is good news for everybody. It's currently at the top of what to mine, and it looks like over the past 7 days, it's had a 56% increase in price, but only a 34% increase in hash rate, meaning that you have a little bit of a window there to go ahead and start mining Flux and probably take a little bit of, advantage of the increase in price. Of course, once this crosses the 1.5 to 1.6 range in the mega solutions a second, that's when you probably want to reel back and be a little bit more careful about swapping your rigs over. But I would feel personally comfortable swapping some rigs over right now, once again, because we've had a 30% increase over the past 7 days in hash rate, but a 56% increase in the price. And that is what I'm looking at. It does look like, too, the difficulty hasn't been super impacted as well. Now, as always, we like to look at Bitcoin just to get a feeler for the hash rate. should be around, 234 exahash a second, so no real change. Let's take a look at Ethereum. And Ethereum is at 950 terahash a second. No real change. Ethereum Classic, we're expecting 30. There it is, 32 terahash a second. And it has continued over the past 2 weeks to maintain that hash rate. And it's had an 11% increase in the past 7 days. Let's take a look at Ravencoin, which we would expect to still be remaining around the same 2.29 terahash a second. No real change there. And Neoxa, which has been on top of the charts recently too, is at 105 gigahash a second and has recently lost some hash rate. It got tested out and couldn't maintain that hash rate, so it came back down. Finally, we have Ergo. Let's take a look at Ergo, and we are at 10.6 terahash a second, and it has had a 24% increase in its price over the past 7 days, but no increase in the hash rate. So Ergo's not a bad one to look at either. It also has a declining difficulty curve as well. So there is 2 good coins that have recently pumped that look like you could probably potentially hop onto at this point and be safe. And that is going to be both Ergo and Flux. If I'm looking at price and difficulty and amount of hash rate that's increased, you have these gaps here that definitely offer you something outside of Ethereum to mine right now. So definitely take a look. But speaking of Ethereum, let's take a look at mining pool profitability. For the past 90 days, ZET in first, Ether Mine in second, F2 Pool in third. Last 60 days, ZET in first, Crux Pool in second, F2 Pool in third. Last 30 days, ZET in first, Nano Pool in second, Mining Pool Hub in third. Last 21 days, ZET in first, Nano Pool in second, F2 Pool in third. Last 14 days, ZET in first, Nano Pool in second, Hivon Pool in third. Last 7 days, ZET in first, Flex Pool in second, F2 Pool in third. And for the last 3 days, ZET in first, Flex Pool in second, Ether Mine in third. And finally, ZET in first, Flex Pool in second, and F2 Pool in third for the past day. So not too shabby as far as all of that goes. It is what it is. Crazy Pool is struggling once again, which seems to kind of be the deal. It's Crazy Pool's either at the top or it's at the bottom. ASIC miner profitability. The Antminer E9 has dropped just a little bit below $70 a day that it was at yesterday. The Antminer L7 with the Kitty coin taking back over the KD6, making $61 a day on Kitty coin. Kitty coin. Nyan, which is the original Doge that was abandoned for Doge, but still maintained, and for some reason getting some sort of resurgence in the past bear market. So I don't know why it's getting a resurgence in this bear market, but it is. So I guess we can pay attention to it. We have the Gold Shell KD6 at $21.12 a day, and the Inosilicon A10 at $19 a day. If we scroll down here, we are looking for the S19 Pro, which is at $572 a day. It has dropped about 20 to 30 cents a day from yesterday. So let's get into questions and answers. Remember, super chats are never required, always appreciated, first to be answered because they're the easiest to read. Tagging at Son of a Tech will highlight the message orange, and I'll be able to read it a lot easier. And I'm going to go ahead and pop out the chat. Now, on the poll, I said, will you hold Ethereum through the merge? And it is a lot closer than I expected. 45% of you say, yes, you will hold it through the merge. And 55% say, no, you will not hold it through the merge. Village BC says, as Simon Tech, I'm looking at GPUs based off efficiency in algorithms I intend to run post-merge. Probably the best way to look at it. Andrew McCarthy says, at Simon Tech, have you talked about F2 Pool manipulating timestamps? I have reviewed the paper and I still don't understand it to the point to where I feel comfortable making any sort of accusations along those lines, especially since they don't seem to always stay at the top of our calculators as far as mining pool profits go. So I have a lot of questions surrounding it, but I am aware of the exploit. Yes. Gordon Murray says, ask Havatech, can you mine Neoxys solo with a node? Yes, you can. Burn. Wasted Trash Pandas with a $5 super chat says 1984 is an amazing and relevant book. Just saying, your channel is better than ever, by the way. Thanks for watching, and I am glad that it's getting better. Hopefully we continue. 1984 is a relevant. There's a lot going on that you look at and you read and you go, One of the things that I thought about today is that we are seeing a repeat. It's interesting how quickly the cyclical nature of digital innovation rears its head, right? So in the mid 90s, we kind of saw the same thing with, email encryption that we're seeing now with digital payment encryption, essentially, right? For lack of a better term, to really pull those two together and understand that cryptocurrency is derived from not something dissimilar that was just as simple as email encryption, where governments really didn't like email encryption. They wanted to be able to read and see everything, and the way they sold it to the people to get rid of encryption or to provide, a way for the government to decrypt any sort of digital communication was to demonize it and say, well, it's being used by Al-Qaeda or whatever it may be, terrorists or whatnot. And then they were able to basically get their dirty little fingers into all of it. And now at this point, everything is pretty much public record. At the end of the day, nothing is safe. No device is safe. You don't have the ability to have any privacy or security at this point as far as communications go on the internet. I mean, sure, you can kind of secure it from each other, but governments pretty much have an attack vector into all of those systems at this point. IATG, thanks for the $2.99 super chat sticker. Boosting that algorithm. Diego Bosca says, Ask Havatech, yesterday you talked about Flux working on storage. This means it's going to do something like Chia, or am I wrong? You were wrong. Chia doesn't do anything with storage. Chia basically writes a bunch of bingo cards onto your hard drives, and if you get bingo on your bingo card for Chia, you win a block. Okay, it's a waste of storage. It is not green. It's wasteful and completely not going to solve persistent storage for Web3. What Flux is trying to do is solve persistent storage for Web3. What does persistent storage mean? Okay, so here's, I guess, maybe what we have to explain. So you have a website, right? Okay, and that on that website, you have information, maybe some text, and then you have the code, right? Right now, I think the best way to explain it is Flux can be utilized to put the code up on the website, right? And point to wherever. What it doesn't have is the ability to store images and video files or whatever else, or text or blogs or any sort of data within that for that website. So it has to point to external sources. This means that typically they're going to point to some sort of storage device on a Web 2 service, right? So what persistent storage solves, persistent storage meaning it's persistent, meaning it's always there, meaning it's always there on the blockchain if we want to get into Web3, means that they will be able to not only spin up that code for the front end, but then take it and point it to a Web3 hosted version of whatever that file is, image, whatever it may be. So no, it's not the same at all. It's completely different. Colton says, Ask Havatech, history repeating itself. It would never. Gamer Kid says, Ask Havatech, have you looked at Theta? I don't know if maybe you could put some content on there. They have really, really, really low quality. I would definitely rather be on Library and on basically Odyssey and Library, which is what we're on for blockchain. Theta is a bit more centralized than Library too, from what I can tell. Vash says, Ask Tech, thanks for the great info as always. I'm very much appreciate you. Thank you, good sir. You blew a power supply yesterday. Do you have any links or tips for general troubleshooting and repair? I wouldn't try to probably repair a power supply. That's not my expertise. As far as repairing one, you would want to probably try to find some online articles. Maybe there's somebody that could walk you through it, but each power supply is going to be a little bit different. You're messing with, of course, soldering, etc., and you risk fire. So I would never use a repaired power supply either. If you can RMA it, that's your best bet too, right? Hugo Down says, Ask Simon Tech, have you seen the Ergo Dex update to Spectrum that is supposed to launch today? I did see that. I don't think it's live though right now, right? I believe I was just on Ergo Dex before we started to see if it was live. Ergodex.io or app. Yeah, I'm not seeing it live at this time, but it should be exciting to see what they do with it. Village BC says, Ask Tech, do you know if you can get a DeFi loan against Flux held in the Cumulus node? No, I do not know if you can. I would think not, because it's locked up in that Cumulus node. That would be interesting, though. Does Flux even offer any sort of DeFi loans at all anyways? Because, okay. I think like you could get a loan through like another chain like Ethereum or something like that, but you would then have to wrap the Flux. And the Flux isn't wrapped if it's in a Cumulus node. Oh, the index finger? It's just taped up because I jacked up my knuckle in jiu-jitsu. All of my injuries are jiu-jitsu. If you see any injuries on me, it's all jiu-jitsu. Doesn't matter. Still going to train today. No days off. Got about 7 minutes left for questions and answers. The shirt is getblock.io. Yes. Which I think is the most innovative. Personally, I think it's the most innovative mining pool currently out. And that's across all coins and chains. Please tag at Son of a Tech. People want to talk about BlackRock. BlackRock offering basically direct exposure to Bitcoin. Yeah, that just shows that Bitcoin is the Trojan horse, right? The thing is like we've talked about the Trojan horse effect. The returns are good. It looks like a good investment for a lot of people. They don't want to miss out on Bitcoin, and so they buy into it, therefore devaluing their own fiat structure that they are currently participating in, and boosting the ability for individual sovereignty and financial autonomy. BB Crypto says, Ask Son of a Tech, what do you think about ZET pool? Performance looks pretty good. I can't really connect to it because it is only UK, last I checked. So, your pings are going to be pretty bad. It depends on, and pings are important for submitting shares, right? Village BC says, Ask Son of a Tech, I assume BlackRock came in short the market. Too short the market? I don't know. There were futures at first, but now there's direct exposure, which wouldn't be for shorting. Luca D'Angelo says, Ask Son of a Tech, have you tried the Guap Swap beta? No, I have not. Rad CPU Man says, Ask Son of a Tech, are you close to finishing the testing of the Antminer? Well, no. So we have a new control board coming in for it. So we're going to be loading the control board and going over overclocks. However, we started getting a sec reg error on it. And apparently this has been happening to a bunch of S19s. And people fix it by replacing the control board. So we're going to try to fix it by replacing the control board. If not, we're going to ship it back to Coastal Miner so that they can get a replacement. But right now it's only doing like, right now specifically it's turned off. But when it was on yesterday, it mined, once we moved it into the office and we controlled the temperatures, it was mining pretty good. And then it started yesterday going down to 90 gigahash a second. And so we definitely have an issue with it. I tried reflashing the firmware. That didn't solve it. So at this point, I don't know if swapping the control board will fix it. If it does, obviously we'll talk about it on the channel. If it doesn't, we'll talk about it on the channel either way, and I'll get you guys more information. The next review should be the Antminer S10, which we'll be talking about. And then we also have a Goldshell X5, which has been actually pretty amazing. The X5 is really good as far as reliability goes. Keypoint says, I can't find any U.S. exchanges to sell my Conflux. Am I screwed? Well, we could always go to CoinMarketCap and take a look at what's available. And then you could always check out my video on what VPNs are used for. You said Conflux, right? I haven't mined Conflux in a hot minute. So you could use MEXC or KuCoin. Easy. Easy. Just use KuCoin. Done. That's a real easy one. The twin-tailed comet says, as Son of a Tech, I have a Zotac Trinity 3070 Ti mining ETH at the moment. In HiveOS, the memory overclock won't go above plus 1800. Otherwise, the load average gets really high and eventually forces a restart. The memory temperature is 97 degrees. I mean, the memory temperature sounds good right off the bat, but I mean, you could try it in a different rig if you're getting load average high. Maybe the CPU is having issues giving shares to it, and there's actually an overheat on your CPU in the actual for the rig itself, and not any problem with the GPU. It could be potentially a problem. Michael says, ask Tech Flux versus Conflux on what to mine. Could you elaborate? What do you mean? I would mine Flux, probably. Jeff says, ask Son of a Tech, good morning. Good morning, good sir. Raptor Node says, ask Son of a Tech, any progress in researching the Flux mining pool? Not a mining pool, but the mining, solo mining Flux? No. Daniel Ring says, ask Son of a Tech, what is the most cost-effective hardware for nodes? Used equipment on eBay. So if you're just going to run one node, probably like a Raspberry Pi, right? If you're going to run multiple nodes, at that point, like you're building out infrastructure, getting like a used server off of something like ServerMonkey and building out, a virtual host would be worth it. You don't need a lot, so you can get like an old one, like even probably like an old Power Edge or whatever, 720 or whatever. XDX says, what's up at Son of a Tech price prediction to ERG on 2024 to 2025? I have no price prediction on ERG for you. Bruno says, at Son of a Tech, did you manage to find the wallet problem with the Ergo node? I was able to send through yes and no. I don't know what's causing the actual wallet interface to not allow me to send through the panel, but I was able to send through Swagger. So I sent through Swagger. Then after I got everything sent out, I deleted and regenerated the wallet. I sent an Ergo to it, and then I was able to send it from the panel. So I can send from the panel now. I don't know what was corrupted with the wallet though. So I don't know why that wasn't working. It kept sending to itself, but I was able to get it out through Swagger. And then once I was able to get it out through Swagger, I was able to go ahead and just regenerate the wallet. But that did take me like all day yesterday. L Dude says, Ask Son of a Tech, have you gone over Vitalik's last tweet? No, I haven't. Should you buy says, have a good day at jiu-jitsu, sir. Oh, I will. Always a good day. And speaking of, thank you for calling that out. It is 11 o'clock and it's time to end. iStark says, hey, Son of a Tech, you see something about mining Polygon. That will be discussed on the 18th, which is in about 6 days. We'll be talking about it. It's not mining Polygon. Obviously, that's for clickbait because I don't know how to explain to miners what you're actually going to be doing. But that video will cover it, right? So what you're actually looking at doing though is providing proofs for the ZK rollups, and that is a distinction that is apparently super important. So there you go. And yes, we will be doing a stream over on twitch.tv/blindrun. I do want to try to do a push for partner on Twitch. I've never been partnered on Twitch, but it requires 75 viewers concurrent for 25 hours over the past 30 days. If you guys could go follow me over there and leave a tab up for a homie, I would love to make that goal actually happen in my lifetime. But thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to hit the like, comment, subscribe, and notification bell down below. I am working on I was trying to pull, I'm working on an end screen. But the end screen that I wanted to do was basically pull all of the supporters from locals and just do shout outs for all of the local members at the end of the video. And I'm actually trying to write something to pull the member list and automatically update the end screen for me. So that every day we run it, it's up to date. But want to give a shout out to everybody that's supporting the channel over on locals because that definitely helps. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday.